started because we're at 12:02. And if you have questions, if you have questions, I'm here to answer those questions. But I wanted to first go through the project with you, and then I would be happy to answer any questions that you have. So I figured that that's what we would do today. And I know that people get nervous when it comes to writing the essay, and I don't want you to be nervous, but I also want you to utilize the handouts and things that I've given to you. And a lot of times this meeting helps you know what to send you. Like somebody says, oh, I really need some review with thesis, for example, and I can resend my thesis handout. You can take a look at that. Okay, so without further ado, let's get started. So a lot of times students want to know where the essay prompt is, and it is right here. In fact, the essay prompt is what guides you through everything that we're doing for every unit that we do. And this first project is actually our longest one. In fact, for the next few weeks, we're going to have about a project a week. And so this was the one that we spent the most time on. One of our projects is not an essay at all. It's actually, you're going to be collaborating on a Google slideshow and then have a reflection. And so I think you're going to enjoy it. I think you're going to enjoy each of the projects for different reasons. So let's take a look here as I guide you through it. So I'm going to move our little handy people over here. And I want to read through the overview here, or the goal, excuse me. So the goal of our project is to learn how to determine if something is ethical. And so you're going to use the information to investigate an unethical law or occurrence. And I've already had people just, send me emails saying, would this topic work? Would that topic work? And what I have found is that you want to make sure that you're writing something that you are passionate about. And then as you start to write it, you'll figure out whether you need to narrow the topic down or broaden it based on how many sources you have and what you have to write on. And so I want to focus in on, there is a difference between unethical law or occurrence. So a law is something that's legal, but it also could be an unstated law, because there's not everything that we do is legal or illegal. In fact, there are certain things that people do that may be what we would categorize as rude. And so there's this unstated law, but you can look at the law, or something specific happened and you want to look at that particular happening. It's a particular happening that happened on a particular day and time and that kind of thing. So there's actually a lot of latitude here in terms of choosing what topic you want to write on. And like I said, it's so open. People write about so many different things. And so, like I said, the rule of thumb is to choose something you're interested in. And so as we go down, I had invited you before to skim over the complete project and then come back. And so now we're all together and coming back. And we have the key questions here. So the key questions for this particular topic, so I'm trying to, everything always gets to be a little bit slower when we're on Zoom here. So let me do this. I want to highlight it. So the question is, what is an unethical law, stated or implied, or occurrence that needs to be changed or responded to? Okay, so that's the overall question. The prompt itself is to choose an unethical law, stated or implied, or occurrence, and argue why it's unethical in a multi-paragraph essay using the ideas with an ethical argument. This is really, really important. You need to mention the book, you need to mention the author, and you need to actually find a quotation or two from the book and you need to follow the procedure of verification and or justification. Okay, they're very similar, but you know, choose that and follow it through. So I'm looking to see that you use this framework, okay? And you should also reference fallacy as well. There are several fallacies, and you can look at the Quizlet and choose one that fits with what it is you're doing. So the length is 1,500 words, and I like you to include the word count at the end of your text. Obviously, you're going to have a works cited. I don't get all upset if you count the works cited within your word count. That's not a big deal. So your sources, again, ethical argument, but then you have to actually find outside sources. So I do require one library source, okay? But you can use internet sources as well. And it's very easy to go on the PCC website and look up the library sources there. If you're able to go into PCC and go into the library, if you have the prompt with you, I have talked to many librarians and I've said, hey, I'm looking up this topic, can you help me? And the librarians are really wonderful because they actually want to help you. And they might give you some key tips, you know, more updated tips. You also need to include at least one visual. The visual can actually be a video that's put into your essay. It could be a still visual. It could be something that you have created. Maybe you've taken a photo, or it's something that you may have found, okay? And I have a handout about incorporating visuals that's right here. I'm going to open it up for a moment because I think that you might find it to be valuable if you haven't looked at it. And I'm going to show you something really quickly as well as it opens. That any of my handouts, you can, once this loads, I'll show you. You can keep any of my handouts that you would like. You can have them after class is over as long as you save them yourself. So you could go to File. You can choose Make a Copy. And once you choose Make a Copy, then it's yours. If you don't do that, once the class is over, a few weeks after, you have no more access to the materials in the class. So I always want to share that with students. Anyhow, I have this handout called Incorporating Visuals, and I'm trying to slide up, but it's a little slow here, that talk to you about the types of visuals that you can include. And then I also talk to you about how to cite them. So if you scroll through, I start off, these are the types you can use. You can use photographs, diagrams, infographics. You can use tables, pie charts, graphs, flow charts, maps. But notice that I have the visual here, and then underneath it, I have figure, whatever the number is, a colon, and I give it a title. It may be a title that I've given or somebody else has given. And then I'm discussing how to put the visual in. So you want to center your visual, you want to label it, and then you should refer to it. And you can use the wording that I have here. So you may have the visual, and then you can say, notice in figure 1, or as shown in figure 1, or figure 1 shows, or any other words that where you go and discuss the visual and what it showcases. And the visual should not be there just for fun. It should be there to add to your writing. And then below, I have an example of how to cite it within your work cited. Okay? And then if you have your writer's reference, you can take a look at the actual, even more specific ways to include. And I actually copied them and kept them here just to give you examples. Okay? So your writing project, which is an essay, must have a visual. So far, you have to have Kurtler, you have to have outside sources, and you really shouldn't have more than one outside source, because when you're trying to argue whether something is ethical or not, if you're just using one source, then you are not trying to give a balanced side to things. Okay? You need to follow MLA, and I have a link to Purdue OWL to show you. And then you need to write this writing project in the third person, meaning that you're going to avoid using personal pronouns. An exception for that would be if you, let's say this unethical occurrence happened to you, or the unethical occurrence happened to somebody that you know, or there's a law and you happened to be a victim of that particular law, you can use a short little example called a personal anecdote, and you can include it in your essay, but that's it. Anytime that you feel like you want to say, I believe that, or I think that, get rid of those phrases because they do not belong in academic writing, because the understanding is that your essay is your essay, and so the fact that you're writing it and you state something categorically, we know that it's your opinion, your academic opinion. Okay? So before I go down to the problem and the audience and the purpose, I want to stop right here, and I'm going to, even if nobody says a word, I'm going to stop. And if you have any questions, it's a good time to ask about the prompt and the key question. All right. So everybody seems.
Can you hear me?
I can. Okay. I heard somebody say, "Can you hear me?" Did somebody just ask a question?
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry.
Hi, Jen. I just started to hear you now. You have a question?
Yeah. When is the actual due date for the paper? I know there's some interim due dates, but
yes. Let's go to our handy dandy calendar. Might be another class. I think it is. Nope, it is. It's ours. So I'm going to look at the calendar. Oh, nope. It's right next door. I'm teaching the same class, but at 2 colleges. All right, so let's take a look at ours here. Okay. So off snap, but I saw it anyway. So I'm going to wait for this to open up again. But basically, the due date for the final paper is Saturday at 11:59. Now, I do want to share something with you because this is an important conversation to have. Some teachers turn off the assignment by then. I don't. If you were in Sunday morning at 2 or 3 a.m., I'm okay with that. I won't make you use a late pass for that. But if it's Sunday morning at 7 a.m., we're moving into a time frame that is a bit late. The exception, though, for the essay is the first draft. So I'm going to open it up. I'm scrolling down. I'm being patient with Zoom here. The first draft has to be turned in on time in order to get a peer review partner. That is actually time sensitive. So let's take a look at this.
Okay. Stop.
And I understand. I got my second degree with the baby. My second master's degree. I had one master's degree, and then I had to go to Starbucks to write my papers with babysitting. So I'm trying to get it to scroll back down. There we go. All right. So here, and I do need to actually, I need to fix something, so I'm glad that you asked. Let me write here. Your first draft is due by Wednesday, or you won't be able to get a peer review. This is important because it's Canvas doing that. So that means by 11:59. So let's say your first draft is not long enough. You should still turn something in, because if you don't turn it in, what's going to happen is that you won't be able to do the peer review. I usually open up a discussion forum, getting people to try to find other people to do peer reviews. And the one thing that needs to change is that the peer review needs to be turned in as soon as possible, not by this weekend. But I'm trying to type and it's not letting me, so I'll probably have to do it afterwards. So the peer review, you should give it to them as soon as possible. So Friday at the Friday morning at the very latest, because we have 4th of July, it's kind of a wonky week. So I'm gonna put ASAP here. ASAP. All right. So thank you for asking that question. So the first draft is Wednesday night by 11:59 p.m. And then begin your peer review as quickly as you can. And you will be assigned 2 peers. That way, if one person didn't do what they were supposed to do, you'll be able to have at least one person look at your paper. Okay? Any other questions about this part here, about when it's due? John?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I'm moving back to our page here. I'm going to go down to the problem and audience and purpose. Okay, so the problem is that any society is rife with ethical issues that should be different. Choose one that you think is a problem. It should be something you care about. Again, look up info from the library and the internet to investigate. You need at least one library source. Your job is to convince the audience that there's an unethical issue using the framework from ethical argument, and then to find, I put a partial solution. The reason why I put this is that sometimes there are problems that don't have clear-cut solutions. But your job after having read this book is to try and figure out, okay, if I've gone through the procedure of verification, what might the most reasonable solution to this problem be? Or this may be the solution to this part of the problem, and then we may need to look at this. Or maybe there's 2 or 3 solutions, or maybe, well, there's a solution to this, but there's not to this, but it's still not okay to behave in this particular way, right? So as academics, we want to be open enough to discuss it. There's not just one correct answer necessarily for a solution, even though we can argue that something is ethical or unethical. I would like to invite you to anticipate counter-arguments, refer to them within your paper, and that's where fallacy comes in. So it may be that it states something to the effect that this particular organization argues that this is the way to handle it, but their reasoning is this fallacy because they state this.
Can I do it? Yeah.
Okay? So that's one way to go into anticipating counter argument. Okay? Your audience is not necessarily me in this case, even though I'm going to be the one reading your paper. Your job is to convince the person, group, or institution who has the power to make changes that this particular law or assignment is unethical. Okay? And the purpose of this particular assignment is that all of us have to make these decisions, right? We all have these decisions. Some are based on preference, like I prefer this red dress over this yellow dress, right? Although even in certain situations, if you wear red at a certain place and time, it would be considered rude or inappropriate. So even something like that, but there are certain decisions that are preferences. I'm going to eat my lunch at 11:30 as opposed to 1:30, you know? While others are more serious, they're serious decisions, and they may involve other people. And so the latter types of decisions are ethical. So not every decision that you make is ethical. So I want you to really be clear about that not every decision that a person makes regards ethics, but there are quite a few that do. And so it's our responsibility as members of our community to take these decisions seriously and maturely so that we can avoid infringing on the rights of others and potentially hurt them. Okay? So that's our first prompt here. And I would like to ask, are there any questions about the essay or the due dates at all? Okay. Are there any questions that you have about ethical argument? Anything that you would like to bring up?
So assignment 5 is due tonight?
Well, let's take a look, because I don't have it memorized. I'm looking at the calendar as much as you are. So let's take a look.
I'm pretty sure it is.
We'll take a look anyway.
All right.
All right. And today's Monday. So nothing is due tonight, but you can turn it in tonight if you want to. It's due by Tuesday night. Okay. So, but you can turn it in. It's always good to, I mean, if I were you, I would turn in things as early as possible. I also want to share, or earlier is always better. So in your head, if it's tonight, go ahead and do that. I also want to share with you with the infographic. I'm giving you an assignment with parameters, but I'm asking you to be creative. So I'm looking to see that you do it. I'm not necessarily grading you on having the most perfect infographic. The cool thing is that you're going to be sharing your infographic with your classmates. And so they'll have an opportunity to see yours, you'll see theirs, and it will help deepen your understanding of the actual text here. In the infographic assignment itself, I have linked a YouTube video about how to use Canva, and you can use something else instead of Canva for your infographic if you're used to using other types of tech tools. But Canva is a pretty intuitive, easy thing to use. You can download it and then also upload it. And I link a YouTube video for using Canva on the assignment, but you can also always go to YouTube and look up Canva, okay? But the thing with infographics that I think is kind of cool is that instead of you writing a long essay, you're trying to use as few words as possible without losing the meaning, but you're using visuals as well to put them together on the page. Okay? So those are the things that are on the horizon here. Okay? Any other questions about what it is we're doing?
I have a question.
So we don't.
Okay.
You go first. It's okay.
Well, let Samantha go ahead and go first, because I heard you first, and then I didn't see the name of the other person. You can speak up. Go ahead, Samantha.
I have two questions.
Yes.
The first one is revolving the how does the steps to get to the rough draft. One of them is the sample outline, or is it a formal outline, something like that?
It's not formal.
It's not formal. It's just a
Not
scratch.
formal. It's just it's a scratch outline.
And then for the tentative thesis, we just write one thesis.
Well, it's up to you. If you are not sure about your thesis, because a thesis is tentative until you turn in the paper.
Okay.
Because writing is the act of learning. So whenever I'm writing a scholarly paper, I'm using hand gestures and nobody can see them, I'm realizing. Whenever I'm writing a paper, I have an idea of what I believe in and what I think. And then when I start writing, because I'm forced to put down on paper my thoughts and my reasons, I'm having to go back and look and change what I'm thinking. So when you're writing your paper, you may end up changing your thesis before your paper is done.
Okay.
Usually students just turn in one tentative thesis, but it could be that you're not sure. You could think this or this, and you know that ahead of time, you can put two, but I'm just expecting one. Did you have another question, Samantha?
No, I'm good. That's it.
All right. I didn't see who the other person who was asking a question. Could you go ahead and...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we don't have to do assignment 4, right?
Assignment 4. I'm confused. What?
Because I'm not sure in the announcements it said that I think you made a mistake, as in that it was supposed to be for the people that go to class.
You're talking about in the Google Doc, correct?
Yeah.
Yes, you don't have to do that. Yes, I think so.
Oh, okay. Just
I
wanted to
didn't
make
know
sure.
which assignment 4 you were talking about, but yes, I do know what you're talking about. And I appreciate
Okay.
whoever asked that question. I don't remember right this minute. But yes, there was a little thing that I said, stop, we'll do this in class. That was for my face-to-face class, and I corrected that. So no, you didn't have to do that for your ethical argument.
Okay.
Yeah. My face-to-face class doesn't do the infographic assignment yet, but the next time I teach it, they will, because my online classes have done such a phenomenal job, and so we're going to start doing that one too.
My class.
Say that again.
Sorry.
Oh,
Mom,
hi.
yeah.
Oh, hi, Edwin. You're like, I'm in class.
Yeah.
Leave me alone for a minute. That's fine. That's fine. Did anyone else have any other questions? Does anyone have anything they'd like to bring up about this text? Like there was something in there you wanted to talk about with your peers in real time, or do you guys feel set? All right. Well, if that is all, I will say aloha, and I hope that you guys have an amazing rest of your day, and you can always email me if you have questions. And I appreciate them, because what happens is if sometimes questions alert me to needing to change something or needing to respond to the whole class, because I think they might have that same question. So, all right. Well, if that's all, then we will end our very first Zoom meeting. So thank you. What's going to happen is I'm going to download this, and I'm going to send an email out saying that the Zoom is here. But for all of you who attended for the assignment, all you have to do is say, I was in attendance. That's all you have to do. People who are not in attendance for the Zoom meeting have to watch the video and then do a summary. But you could decide to go and watch the video again if you feel like you need to as well. So the video should be ready in 10 to 15 to 30 minutes, and I will send an email out, and that announcement will have the actual link to the video. So it was really great to see you all in person, and you guys are doing really wonderfully, so keep it up. And I cannot believe we're really